We are all one. That is what they don't want us to suss. Who are we? We are all that is, has been, and ever can be. When people hear that, they say, how is that possible? I will explain in a second. But I had an experience once which took me into other levels of reality. And I experienced this place, point of attention, which was dark but brilliant. Very difficult to describe. Had no sound, had no movement, but it knew all. It was all that is, has been, and ever can be in that stillness and silence. And I read this book about a year or so ago, and I was reading what he said, and I thought, whoa, there you go, I've been there, darling. Ibn Alexander, a neuroscientist who had a massive near-death experience. Before the near-death experience, this was Dogma Dawkins in America, in effect, absolutely the same belief system. Then he had this massive near-death experience, and of course, everything changed. And one of the things he said he experienced was the core, or what he called the dazzling darkness. That is exactly what I experienced years ago. The dazzling darkness from where the purest love emanated and where all was known. Yes, this is the place where all is known. And all comes out of that we call worlds and forms and experience. It's all that is and ever can be. Impossible. You can't be all that is and ever can be. Yes, you can, because that is all possibility waiting to manifest. And in all possibility, it is all possibility. All that is, has been, and ever can be. It's all potential waiting to be made manifest. It is everywhere and nowhere. Can't be everywhere and nowhere. Within all potential and all possibility, you have to be able to be everywhere and nowhere. And everything and nothing. You can't be everything and nothing. You have to be within all possibility. And then we get the nothing, the no thing. People are so caught in the five senses that they believe that if you can't see it, touch it, hear it, and taste it, then it can't exist. If there's no movement, it can't exist. When they're just one or two possibilities pulled out of all possibility. All possibility is stillness and it is silence. This is why you can read all the books you like and all whatever you want to do with your voice and whatever. But you go into a state of meditative silence and you get inspiration that you'll get in no way from words, because you're going into that all that is state. And this is Nikola Tesla, a mainstream scientist, yes, in the strict sense, but way beyond that, because he was aware of that which is beyond the so-called physical. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated the secrets of this core, but I know it exists. He's talking about the same thing. So from this all possibility, these worlds are created by thought, by imagination. And they're all illusions in terms of physicality. So, what do you mean the world isn't solid? It certainly bloody looks solid, and we experience it as solid. But it can't be, for a start, because they tell us that this reality is made of atoms. Atoms have no solidity, and thus they cannot a physical solid world make. And as someone said, if you take the nucleus of the atom, it is, in relation to the size of the atom, about the size of a 10-cent piece. All the rest is empty space. And if you go into that deep enough, you'll find that is too. How can that make a solid world? What we call atoms and all these other things they talk about in science is the decoding system. When you put information in a waveform sense into a computer and the computer decodes it, there are certain stages of that decoding before it becomes that on the screen, this world. And science is so focused on the twigs and can't see the forest that it takes every twig in isolation. It doesn't realize it's part of one seamless decoding system. And so we are decoding from the waveform through the digital, I'll get to the digital in a minute, through to the holographic, illusory, physical. All these different levels, molecular and atomic and holographic as it is, and they're all different expressions of the decoding of this world. The world is a hologram. Everything that we see as form is a hologram. There's more to know even about that, but let's keep it at that level for now. And holograms are like, of the ones you buy in the shops, what they do is they get a laser, and the part of the laser goes off. It's a photographic print. Another part of the laser, in waveform, photographs the object, and then hits the part of the laser that came straight onto the film. And that collision creates what they call an interference pattern. What is an interference pattern in a hologram? It's waveform information. Looks like a fingerprint. I don't think it's an accident either. And then, well, what is it? It's just waveform. But then you fire a laser at it, and amazing things happen. And what you are looking at is basically the same principle as dropping two stones in a pond, and they start a wave reaction. And as those waves collide, what you're looking at is a waveform portrayal, expression, of where the stones fell, how fast they fell, how heavy they were. It's an information field if you know how to read it. And so what happens with the holographic waveform information is when it's read, it becomes an apparently three-dimensional object. These are all holograms that we're seeing here from these waveform information patterns. And some of them, the best of them, can look as solid as you and me. This lady is a hologram projected from somewhere else. These are all holograms. He's been projected from somewhere else. Les Dawson did a whole bloody program, you might have seen it, the British comedian. Even though he's no longer with us, great man as he was, he did a whole program as a hologram. This lady isn't standing there, but appears to be. And so what we're doing is taking this waveform information, that the cosmic internet, and turning it into a holographic reality. And now, mainstream science is starting to see that this is something they need to explore. You are a hologram projected from the edge of the universe. New Scientist, one of the main scientist magazines in Britain. Scientific American, are you a hologram? Quantum physics says the entire universe might be. And here is a mainstream newspaper report. Russian researchers want to replace your physical body with a holographic avatar. Why and how? Because they're replacing a hologram technologically generated with a hologram biologically generated, but even now they're starting to biologically generate as well. And the wonderful, amazing characteristics of a hologram, which explains so many mysteries, is that every part of a hologram is a smaller version of the whole. So when you get one of those holographic prints of a picture in waveform, and you cut it into 4, and you fire the laser at each one, you don't get a quarter of the picture, you get a quarter-size version of the whole picture. Every part of the hologram is a smaller version of the whole. And that's why you see the human energy field is a smaller version of the planetary energy field. This is where as above, so below comes from. And then you have reflexology and acupuncture and all these things that can find points on the ear and the body and the foot, all over the body, that correspond with other parts of the body. It's because they are holographic and therefore smaller versions of the whole. You might have seen people who've photographed things with their hands, where they've in various experiments that have been done. Not when I say photograph things, they've seen things with their hand. They've not seen them as clearly as with their eyes, but they've seen them. Now that is possible, although science says it's impossible. It's possible because there are sight senses in the hand, because it's a hologram, therefore all the senses are in the hand, just not as sharp as the main sense, in this case eyes. The palm reading is all part of the hologram because the whole body is in the hand. And this is why the brain cells and the universe mirror each other. So there are scientists over the years who have said that this reality as we experience it only exists when we observe it. I would take that a stage further and say we only see it in this form when we decode it. And the act of observation is the act of decoding. So when they say that waveform suddenly takes a particle form, or they can take the same form at the same time, it's because it's the same information in different forms. And so when you look at this newspaper article, Your Mind Can Control Matter, physicist, atomic particles were shown also to be waves. Whether they manifested as waves or as particles depended on whether someone was looking. Observation influenced the physical reality of particles. In more technical language, observation collapsed the wave function. It decoded the wave function into holographic reality. So when we are not looking at this reality, we're not decoding it, it's just a waveform information field. Same with us. So that's the base form of the body. It is an information field. We decode the body through into this as well. And if you can manipulate the way we decode reality, you can manipulate what we perceive. This is an example I've given many times, but I use it every time because it is so brilliant to explain what I'm trying to say here. There was a guy called Michael Tolbert. He wrote a brilliant book called The Holographic Universe about the scientific evidence for the holographic nature of what we call physical reality. And he told the story in that book of how he had a friend, his father rather, who had a party at his home, and he got a stage hypnotist along to do party tricks. And he got this guy called Tom, and he took him through the various things, and then towards the end he said, Tom, when I bring you back to a waking state, you're not going to be able to see your daughter in the room. So at that point he brings the daughter and stands her right in front of Tom. And Tom, the father's looking in her belly. So he brings him back to a waking state, apparently, and he said, Tom, can you see your daughter? Tom's looking around, can't see him. So everyone else in the room can see the daughter. He can't see the daughter. So the hypnotist went round her back, and the small of her back, he held something. He said, Tom, can you see what I'm holding? He said, well, you're holding a watch. Daughter's between him and the watch. He said, there's something on the watch, Tom, can you read it? He leaned forward, he read an inscription on the watch. Now, Dogma Dawkins and everyone else in the mainstream would say that's impossible, perfectly bloody logical. Because the base form of the daughter, like the base form of all of us, is a waveform information field. And if you don't decode that into the holographic reality, your holographic five senses can't see it because it's not in its reality. And so what had happened is the hypnotist had put, if you like firewalls in the decoding system, and the decoding system would not decode the energy field of the daughter. Everything else in the room, yeah, not the daughter. Everyone else could see her because they'd not been through that process. So the only way that he could see his daughter is when that firewall was unlocked and suddenly he's decoding her. Well, there she is. Now imagine you know all this in great detail and you want to manipulate the global population. What power that gives you. And look at how the same information is there wherever you look with people with an open mind. Tesla, my brain is only a receiver. Central American shaman, we are perceivers, we are awareness, we are not objects, we have no solidity. We are boundless, we, or rather our reason, forget this, and thus we entrap the totality of ourselves in a vicious circle from which we rarely emerge in our lifetime. And the whole focus of the system is make sure we don't emerge. Who creates the universe that we see? We do. And thus, if we change our perceptions, we can change what we decode into a reality, and we can change society. We're not going to do it by stockpiling weapons. We're not even going to do it by mass protests. We're going to be doing it by creating a different reality, by coming from a different perception of what reality is. All that we see or seem is just a dream within a dream. And because everything is one, the dream is the dreamer, and the dreamer is the dream. They're both expressions of each other. And this is a massive way that this is manipulated, the right and left side of the brain. This is mainstream science here. This is not, where I'm coming from alone. Left side of the brain is structure. It's language. It's numbers. It's hierarchy. It's the world that we see. Right side of the brain is inspiration, intuition, creativity. It's the musician, it's the artist, it's the creative in anything. And this is Mercedes-Benz in an advert that was actually emphasizing these two very different functions of different sides of the brain. And what the system does, because it knows that this is where creativity is, this is what connects the dots. Because this sees the tapestry, this sees the strands. If they keep you in the left brain, it's all dots. You get in the right brain, the dots are a picture. That's why they don't want us to connect the dots. That's why they don't want us in the right side of the brain. And so they put the soldiers on the gate of the left side of the brain to stop the right side getting in and having an influence. And what is that? It's doctors, it's journalists. And I'm not saying they know what they do. They're doing this. They don't. They've gone through the system as well. It's scientists, academics in all their forms, and all the rest of it. And if you look at exams in education, what we call education, it's all left side of the brain information, and all the time cutbacks in the arts and things that would open the right side of the brain. I've never made one of my discoveries, said Einstein, through the process of rational thinking. No, through going to another level of awareness beyond the village idiot of rational thinking as we perceive it. Cosmic communication. This is the wireless internet on an electrical level. There's a whole area of science now called the electric universe. Two of the great pioneers and founders are Wallace Thornhill and David Talbot. This is a brilliant book. It's very difficult to get hold of, explaining how the universe has a electrical level, electromagnetic level. It explains so much. We all realize that there's electricity in the atmosphere because we see lightning. What we don't realize is when something's lightning in the lower atmosphere, there's other electrical things going on right out into the cosmos because it's an electrical system. This is a news story. High-speed solar winds increase lightning strikes on Earth. Scientists have discovered new evidence to suggest that lightning on Earth is triggered not only by cosmic rays from space but also by energetic particles from the sun. There is an electromagnetic field which connects everything. Electrical tornadoes, they are fast-rotating electromagnetic fields. The northern lights, the aurora borealis, electrical light show. Electrical comets as they interact with the electrical level of the universe. Electrical galaxy, the spinning of the galaxy. And Nikola Tesla said this: all peoples everywhere should have free energy sources. Electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities and can drive the world's machinery without the need for coal, oil, and gas. And he knew that. He knew that, and he died penniless in a hotel room in New York in 1943. And who are the forces that are suppressing this knowledge? The very sources that are telling you we must deindustrialize because of global bloody warming. That's a load of bollocks anyway. Scam. Gravity is powerful. Okay, the electrical force is about 1,000 trillion times more powerful than gravity. This is what the magnetic force is capable of. And as the electrical universe postulates, the force that hold the planets in their places and their stability are not gravitational forces, they are electromagnetic forces, which brings about a very simple thing. If you can, or something destabilizes those electromagnetic forces, then the planets go walkabout. And I'll get to this in part 2, but they went walkabout in geological terms very bloody recently. 99.99% of the universe or our reality is plasma. And plasma just happens to be an almost perfect medium for electrical forces. They say in the laboratory, plasma exhibits a lifelike ability to self-organize and cope with the stresses of its electrical environment. Why? Because it's conscious. Everything is conscious. And in the electrical universe arena, they can recapture happenings in the heavens in the laboratory using things like plasma focus devices. Try getting mainstream to replicate what they say happens in the universe and how. Electrical sun, plasma sun, almost entirely plasma, they say. Why? Because it is a processor of electrical power, information. Electric sun, I mean, it's not bloody obvious, is it? And they say that what the sun is like a nuclear reactor that starts in the middle and convects out. Well, they say there's a radiative zone. Well, apparently there's very little evidence, if any, for that. And the convective zone they've found is about 1% of it needs to be to do what they say it does. What the electrical universe position says, with tremendous evidence, is that actually it's coming the other way. It's not coming out from the sun, it's coming into the sun, being processed and then going out from the sun in another form. In ultraviolet light, you have what they call a torus, or like a donut around the sun, well out, and it is a collector of electrical power. And what happens is, as that electrical power builds up and builds up, just like lightning is a release of too much electricity in the atmosphere, so there are massive releases of electrical power from this torus, and they head for the sun, and they bang into the sun, create massive holes that we call sunspots. According to the electric universe, sunspots are not going that way and banging outwards, they're coming this way and banging outwards. And here's another kind of thing that supports where the power is really coming from. On the surface of the sun, it's about 5,000 degrees Kelvin, that heat measurement called Kelvin. And in the upper levels of the sun, way out from the surface, it's 200 million degrees. That's the sunspots. And so you have cycles when this electrical power is very, very powerful, and when it's less powerful. And that is what creates the sun cycle, when there's more power coming from the sun and then there's less power. Another great thing that explains another thing is when plasma has a electrical force or electrical state of a certain kind, and it meets plasma with an electrical state of another kind, the plasma automatically creates a barrier between the two. They're called Langmuir sheaths, after Irving Langmuir, who discovered them. And that's why we have these energy fields around planets. And we, in our electromagnetic level, and the planets are interacting with this electrical force, which is delivering, again, information within the cosmic internet. And again, you've got the brain cell and the universe. So this starts to explain this. Astrology. What we call planets and stars are, in their base form, waveform information fields. And as they move through the greater cosmic internet, they are impacting upon it in terms of changed information. They're changing its nature. And when these planets move into certain situations in relation to each other, the impact becomes even greater. And so, where the planets are dictates the nature of the energy field. And when we come into this reality, we pick up the energy field at that point in the cycle. And so we pick up a different energy field to someone else. And we interact with the energy field as we go through our life, therefore, in a different way compared with someone else who comes into the cycle at a different point. And that's what we call astrology. And in its deep scientific level, it is a science. Not in the, local newspaper with a little one paragraph, but at its deep level, it is a science. In the right hands, everything in the right hands. And because we live in a hologram, this is a smaller version of the universe, a smaller version of everything we perceive to be above it. Now, time and space are great creators of illusion, and that's what they are, illusions. Far away, We see stars, we say they're billions of light years away. Hold on. In that form, they exist. When we decode them here, they're centimeters away, in effect. And it's just, again, waveform into hologram. Space, illusion. Communicating, they say, particles can communicate billions of miles apart. How? Because the billions of miles are illusion. It's one energy field reacting to itself instantly because it's one energetic field. And, when you look at time and space, when you put like a computer game into a computer, all the information is on one disk at the same time, right from the start to the end. But you put it in the computer, and that plays that out scene by scene. And as the scenes pass, you perceive that as the passage of time. And as you look at the screen and its depth and its perspective, you see that as space. But all it is information on a disk being decoded into that form by the computer. And it's the same with a DVD. Your perception of time when you're watching a DVD only is dictated by where you are in the DVD. So when you're watching here, your past is there and your future is there. When you're watching there, your past is there, your future is there. And yet, it's only dictated by that part of the information field that you are decoding at that time. There is only the now, that which is all. There is no time and space within that dazzling darkness. It's illusion. It's a perception of time that we have. And this is a great line. The present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all other moments. Why? Because there is only that moment. And the more we get pulled into the future, fear, more we get pulled into the past, regret, we're getting pulled out of the now into some illusory past and future. And what the left brain does is it takes information in that now, and it puts it in a sequence. And that sequence appears to us to be the passage of time. We're back to the DVD. Einstein said, when you are courting a nice girl, an hour seems like a second. When you sit on a red-hot cinder, a second seems like an hour. That's relativity. Relativity is what? Your perception of how you decode reality. Time doesn't exist, clocks exist. Time is just an agreed-upon construct. We have taken distance, one rotation of the Earth and one orbit of the Sun, and divided it up into segments, then given those segments labels. Why it has its uses, it's been programmed to live our lives by this construct as if it was real. We have confused our sharing construct with something that is tangible, and thus we have become its slave. We have a line that doesn't exist in the ocean. That's tomorrow, that's yesterday. It's not even bloody straight, look at it. And yet time controls us. This is another newspaper article. Prison of the mind. Prisoners could serve 1,000-year sentence in 8 hours. Future biotechnology could be used to trick a prisoner's mind into thinking they've served a 1,000-year sentence, a group of scientists have said. Why? Because it's all an illusion. University in London has done a study on time and found that when great sports people are playing, they go into another relationship with time where they decode it to be slower than the rest of us do. That's why, we see balls going across a tennis court and you think, how did he get that back? But he's not seeing it in the same speed we are. I experienced this myself when I was in sport on one occasion. And so you have these, people from the so-called past which seem to be ahead of their time, like Da Vinci and Giordano Bruno, and all those things that Da Vinci came up with 500 years before they were shown to work. And people say they were hundreds of years ahead of their time. They weren't. They were beyond time. They were able to access that level of awareness beyond the program, thus beyond time and space, and that's where they got that knowledge. It doesn't matter if it's the Stone Age here or now. If you access that awareness, you can get that inspiration. The power of the heart, love, intuition, and intelligence. We've got this chakra system, this vortex system. This is the key one, the master one, which relates to the physical heart. And throughout history, the heart has been said to be the center of human power, and it is. The Heart Math Institute in the United States has done massive research on the true nature of the heart, both the physical heart and the energetic heart, same thing in the end. It's the body's most powerful electromagnetic field projected from the heart. The brain obeys the heart. More nerves go from the heart to the brain than go the other way. And the heart has brain cells because it is a massive form of intelligence. Thinking intelligence, innate intelligence. Knowing intelligence, thinking intelligence. Programmed intelligence, see through the program intelligence. And this is what they say. There is also new data suggesting that the heart's field is directly involved in the intuitive perception through its coupling to an energetic information field outside the bounds of time and space. And that's why you get intuition that knows far more than this thinks it knows, because you're accessing a much higher level of awareness when you come from that point. Open your heart and connect with all that is. Thinking, knowing. And that's why they want to shut the heart down through fear, through anxiety, through depression, through worry. So we don't use that access to the great forever. The research at the HeartMath Institute says that when the heart, the brain, and the central nervous system are in harmony, the person moves to a higher level of awareness. When they are not in harmony, they have a distorted resonance, incoherence as they call it, then you're not in that higher state of awareness. And this is the heart rhythm of someone in a state of appreciation. This is a heart rhythm in someone in a state of frustration. Coherence, incoherence. And look at the frickin' world. It's structured to constantly put us in states of low vibrational emotion and fear and anxiety and frustration. And in doing so, it takes us out of the true self and into the fake self. Open your heart, change the world. This is a great line from the great Bill Hicks. This is where we are right now as a whole. No one is left out of the loop. We are experiencing a reality based on a thin veneer of lies and illusions. A world where greed is our God and wisdom is a sin. Where division is key and unity is fantasy. Where the ego-driven cleverness of the mind is praised rather than the intelligence of the heart. Absolutely right. So let's quickly go to the digital construct, because I've been talking about going through the waveform, through the digital into the holographic. Numbers are simply expressions of states of waveform information. This is where numerology comes in. When people keep getting the same numbers recurring in their lives, God, that number again, what's recurring is the same energy information fields. So on one level, it's a waveform. On another level, it's digital. It's numbers. This is why numbers are so important, and so important in esoteric lore. And now we've kind of gone full circle, and now they are creating digital holograms, which is getting so close to what we're actually experiencing. It's unbelievable. This is, again, a mainstream article, and they look so real, digital holograms, so real that when Ford focused a digital hologram to show off a car concept model, people stopped, afraid to walk into it. They thought the holographic car was really there. That's the reality we're experiencing. That's a hologram, a digital hologram. And what they've now established is that these ACGT codes of DNA, they can be expressed as with computer language as a 1 or 0 on-off electrical charge. In other words, they cross over. And the Fibonacci sequence of numbers, where you add the number before to the next number to get the next number, 1 and 1, 2, 2 and 1, 3, 3 and 2, 5, can be found throughout nature, in the way that shells grow, the nature of the form of the human body, all these things, storms, waves on the sea, fingerprints. You find this because we're in a virtual reality universe, and one level of it is digital, so it must express itself like that. Symmetrical mathematics not only shows the nature of mathematics within our reality, it also emphasizes the holographic nature of our reality relating to those mathematics. So, given all that, is the universe a simulation? I've been saying it is for years and years and years. And here we have a mainstream article again. Physicists may have evidence that the universe is a computer simulation. How? They made a computer simulation of the universe and it looks sort of like us. And this is from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, for anyone that thinks that, you know, that's just kind of fantasy. This is what human science can do now. Biology is fundamentally discrete, based on a sets of nucleic and amino acids combined into genes and proteins. And computers are fundamentally discrete, based on bits of data processed by logic gates. The latter have long been used to study the former, but a range of emerging technologies are now making it possible to directly convert between these representations. Just as analog digital and digital analog converters provide the interface between computers and the physical world of sensors and actuators, biology digital and digital biology converters are allowing computers to create and control biological worlds. They're starting to be able to create biological virtual realities now, or they're on the road to it. What if there's a much greater force? I think there might be, you know. I don't think we're at the cutting edge of knowledge in all that exists, ever has been, personally. What you could be doing in terms of creating a reality. And this is a study at the University of Bonn into whether we live in a simulation. And this is a report. They say that they may have evidence that the universe is a computer simulation. They pointed out in a paper called Constraints on the Universe as a Numerical Simulation that simply being a simulation would create its own laws of physics that would limit possibility. I said in books years ago, the laws of physics that we think are laws of physics here are not universal. They're the laws of physics in the way this reality works. That's all. They're not universal. What are the laws of physics? Click, click, enter. Whatever you bloody make them. Scientists talk about a phenomenon known as the GZK cutoff, which is an apparent boundary for cosmic ray particles caused by the interaction with cosmic background radiation. The University of Bonn paper says that this pattern of constraint mirrors what you would find with a computer simulation. They say that like a prisoner in a pitch black cell, we would not be able to see the walls of our prison. And this is right on the other side of the world. James Gates, an American theological physicist, professor of physics at the University of Maryland and director of the Center of String and Particle Theory. This was reported in Physics World. There may be evidence to show that our reality is a simulation akin to the movie The Matrix. Yes, Gates and his team of researchers discovered equations in the fabric of the universe that contain embedded computer codes of digital data. They take the form of 1 and 0 and 0, the binary system of on-off electrical charges used by computers, and he says we have no idea what they are doing there. I think I can help him. Computers and other electrical technology are embedded with mathematical sequences known as error-correcting codes or block codes, which return data to its original state if something changes or interferes with it during transmission. Gates and his team have found these sequences within the fabric of our reality, but they don't know what they are doing there. They're holding the reality in place for reasons I'll explain in part 2. And what I would say, the biggest blocking code of this reality, this fake reality, as I'll explain after lunch, the speed of light. The speed of light is not the fastest speed, it's pedestrian. How can you have a fastest speed within all possibility? It is the walls of the reality, the fake reality that we've been manipulated to decode, believing it to be real. And they've been talking for centuries and centuries about the fact that this is some kind of enclosed world. And it is. And like a prisoner in a pitch black cell, we may never be able to see the walls of our prison until we wake up. So, put this all together, and we're living a fake identity. We think we're our name, our race, our job, our income bracket, our religion, and our life story. I am whatever the system tells me I am. No, we're not. We are what we are. Infinite possibility. Jim Morrison, great quote. The most important freedom is to be who you really are. You trade your reality for a role, a mask. You trade your sense for an act. You give up your ability to feel. In exchange, you put on a mask. There can't be any large-scale revolution until there is a personal revolution on an individual level. It's got to happen inside first. And so we need to stop living the lie and start living the truth of who we really are. We are infinite awareness. We are not humans. That is our experience. We are infinite awareness having that experience. Infinite possibility. And this is a wonderful quote I've used a few times, but it's so brilliant, from a near-death experiencer. What they experience outside of the body. Everything from the beginning, from my birth, my ancestors, my children, my wife, everything comes together simultaneously. I saw everything about me and about everyone who was around me. I saw everything they were thinking now, what they thought then, what was happening before, what was happening now. There is no time, there is no sequence of events, no such thing as limitation of distance, of period, of place. I could be anywhere I wanted to be simultaneously. That's who we are, and that's what the system is seeking to keep from us, to hold us in this one narrow band of point of attention. And bollocks begets bollocks. That's why the whole of our society is flawed and distorted and inverted, because it's coming from a totally fake position of the reality that we are. Yippee, we know all about the known. No, you know what you've been told. And if you tell the system back what you've been told, you pass exams and you progress within the system. Congratulations. Wisdom is knowing how little we know. And that doesn't mean you believe everything, of course not, but it means your mind is constantly open to all possibility. We are in an intellect prison. We worship the intellect. This is the isolated intellect without consciousness. Village bloody idiot. That's the intellect. It looks at dots and it focuses on dots, but it can't connect them to see the picture. And so, this is why infinite awareness, all that has been, ever can be, has been reduced to this. And the world that we live in has been reduced to that through delusion, the delusion of illusion. And why? We ridicule and we kill and despise those that can see beyond the program. You are the universe, but society teaches limitation. Why? Who's behind the bamboozle? Who benefits from it? Why is this nonsense going on? Be back in 1 hour. Thank you very much.